Amid the escalating Russia-Ukraine conflict, now entering its third year, the United States is again demonstrating its strategic commitment to European security by sending troops from the 2nd Squadron, 2nd Cavalry Regiment to Orzysz, Poland. This move is part of NATO's enhanced forward presence operation, which is now more vital than ever. The arriving U.S. troops joined Battle Group Poland, a multinational unit also comprised of troops from Britain and Romania. This deployment aims to strengthen NATO's defense line in Eastern Europe and send a strong signal to Moscow that the alliance remains united in the face of Russian military aggression. Entering the second half of 2025, the Russia-Ukraine conflict has evolved into a more complex war. Russia is expanding drone and missile attacks on Ukrainian energy infrastructure, including the power grid and military facilities in western Ukraine, approaching the Polish border. Meanwhile, Ukraine, with logistical and intelligence support from NATO countries, continues to defend strategic areas such as Kharkiv, Odessa, and Dnipro, despite facing significant pressure from a new wave of Russian attacks in the Donbass. Concerns that this war could spread further into NATO territory are growing significantly. Incidents of airspace violations, cyber attacks on military facilities in the Baltic states, and large-scale Russian military exercises near Kaliningrad add urgency to strengthening NATO's military position in the east. NATO's Enhanced Forward Presence program was launched in 2017 as an initial response to Russia's annexation of Crimea. Now, amidst real and growing threats, the EFP has evolved from a symbolic deterrent to an active, combat-ready military force. With the addition of U.S. troops to Poland, NATO demonstrates that the EFP is not just a temporary deployment, but part of a long-term defense strategy. These troops undergo joint training, combat simulations, and intensive integration of air and ground defense systems with other allied forces. Furthermore, this new deployment is accompanied by the addition of HIMARS systems, Stryker combat vehicles, and advanced radar systems, enabling early detection of any cross-border threats. According to a statement from U.S. European Command, this deployment is a clear message to anyone who threatens European stability. The Polish government welcomes the presence of American and other NATO troops as part of national defense and vital strategic cooperation in times of conflict. The Polish defense minister stated, "We will never stand alone in the face of threats. Every inch of NATO territory is a shared responsibility." With the Russia-Ukraine war escalating and geopolitical complexities deepening, the presence of NATO troops on the front lines has become more than just a symbol. It is the last line of defense standing between military aggression and peace in Europe. The deployment of U.S. troops in Poland in 2025 marks a new chapter in the alliance's commitment to collective defense and a reminder that while the war is centered in Ukraine, its impact reverberates far into the heart of Europe. This year, NATO is not only maintaining its military presence in Eastern Europe, but also expanding its strategic cooperation network with partner countries outside the alliance, such as Sweden, Finland, and Japan. Since Finland officially joined NATO in 2023 and Sweden followed shortly thereafter, NATO's defense line has expanded from the Baltic Sea to the Arctic. This new membership drastically alters Russia's military calculations in the northern region and strengthens NATO's deterrent strategy from Scandinavia to the Black Sea. Meanwhile, Poland, Romania, and the Baltic states continue to serve as logistics, command, and intelligence hubs. In this context, the deployment of U.S. troops in Orzysz is not simply a 6-month rotation, but rather part of NATO's increasingly solid and interconnected permanent posture both in terms of command, weapons system interoperability, and joint field operations. Within Ukraine itself, 2025 is marked by an increasingly difficult defensive struggle. After losing additional territory south of the Dnieper, Ukraine is focused on defending vital points such as Zaporozhye, Kharkiv, and key logistics routes to the west. Despite assistance from Western countries, Ukraine now faces a more aggressive Russian air force and the use of electronic warfare systems that disrupt communications and navigation. Nevertheless, Ukraine has demonstrated remarkable resilience. With an increasing number of trained personnel and the latest generation of Western weaponry, including combat drones, NASAMS air defense systems, and Leopard 2A8 tanks, Ukraine has successfully resisted a massive Russian offensive in Donetsk and even launched limited counter-operations on several fronts. In addition to armed conflict, NATO also faces hybrid warfare from Russia, involving cyber attacks on power and transportation networks in Poland, Lithuania, and Germany, massive disinformation campaigns on social media aimed at dividing European public opinion, infiltration through separatist groups and intelligence networks on NATO's borders. In response, NATO activated cyber rapid response teams and engaged private and civil society organizations to counter the spread of hoaxes and digital system disruptions. Countries like Estonia and Finland, renowned for their cyber strength, became NATO's cyber command centers this year. This conflict is not only having regional impacts, but is also changing the global order. Amid the protracted Russia-Ukraine war, relations between the Western Bloc and the BRICS countries, especially Russia, China, and Iran, are increasingly tense. Countries in Asia and the Middle East continue to monitor this conflict as a model for other potential conflicts, including those in Taiwan and the South China Sea. The United States also continues to manage the global balance of power, maintaining a presence in Eastern Europe while maintaining influence in the Indo-Pacific region. With the presence of U.S. troops and other NATO allies in Poland, the message is clear. The alliance will not back down in the face of aggression and will continue to maintain European stability. However, as with any protracted conflict, a diplomatic solution remains the only long-term solution. The question now is not simply about who wins, but whether the world is ready to rebuild peace in a post-war global security system. 2025 is a critical juncture. Today's decisions and strategies will determine the shape of Europe and perhaps the world for decades to come.
Yeah.